Good evening,
Hey
everybody.
everyone.
Welcome to the Fox Den tonight. Tonight we have Don Allison with us. He is in our green room. He's enjoying the round ice cubes and the green M&Ms, and and he will be with us after the show. The radio show actually starts, and we play his video. Then he'll be with us. I'll explain all that after. The picture that you're seeing behind us. Does anybody know what this is? And the picture on the bottom.
Minutes until showtime.
You know what it is. What we're going to be talking about tonight. It's a famous bridge.
And I don't know much about it, but there's also 2 books there that Don wrote.
Yeah.
And an event was canceled there. Does that help you?
Yeah. But it's going to be, we're going to be talking about a lot of paranormal tonight.
Yes. I actually had somebody ask me today if there was a paranormal radio station. And I said, no, most of us go live, but here's a link to tonight's show.
Nice.
Hey, awesome. Why not?
Yep. Yeah. But, I mean, we'll be talking about other things other than the paranormal, but a lot about the paranormal. And,
exactly.
And Dawn stories. And, of course, I have my shiny ball moments that I will be adding in there.
I'll be kind of like a girl, a deer in the headlights going, but okay, before we get into the
until showtime.
1 minute.
We got 1 minute. Okay, I'm just gonna say from me, and I'm sure everybody who's listening, we send sympathies to you and your family because your uncle passed today.
Thank you.
We're gonna, as you call it, the elephant in the room, because there's gonna be a lot of people commenting about it. So I just wanted them to know that we got you back.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The family appreciates that, but also what we appreciate and our guests will appreciate too is sharing the show.
Exactly.
And going to our YouTube channel.
Yes, because it's got a new name.
And hit the notification button, and because we're going to be doing, it's right there.
Shoot.
The Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D. Well, that was kind of appropriate with the crazy setup there.
Here's my telephone. Oh.
3, 2.
Hey, Ashley.
Good evening, everybody. Oh, sorry. Good evening, everybody. I am Gina B, and the place to be is stay with me and Mama D every Thursday evening right here in the Fox Den. We always ask, and we greatly appreciate you sharing our show. Okay, either on Facebook, but we really would like you to go to our YouTube channel, hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notification button, because we are going to be doing some shows that are not going to be on Facebook, and we're going to be doing card pulling shows. So if you wanted little mini readings and whatnot, you want to be notified by the little notification bell. All right. So, but tonight we're going to be talking about a subject that's near and dear to me and to Mama. All right. We're going to be talking about the paranormal. And with Don Allison. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the little video that tells you what he does, what he's written, and he will be with us as soon as it ends. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Fox Den. Tonight we have Don Allison, a retired award-winning daily newspaper editor, journalist, and columnist. Along with that career for decades, he has written and published books about the American Civil War and Northwest Ohio regional history. His career has gained a new focus, investigating and writing about the paranormal. A handful of years ago, Don and his wife purchased an 1835 home in Ohio. When they began restoration work and started hearing disembodied footsteps and voices, doors closing, knobs turning, and the such, they thought they were losing their minds. As these paranormal occurrences occurred, they began researching in the paranormal, talking to people in the field, etc. As Don learned more, he went from being a total skeptic to being open to his experiences, both in his home and at the historic Civil War battlefield of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. To make a long story short, Don finally concluded to write about his paranormal experiences and the scientific theories behind them. His first book on the paranormal, I Met a Ghost at Gettysburg, A Journalist's Journey into the Paranormal was his most successful book to date, and the reception was so positive he followed up in late 2018 with I Met More Ghosts at Gettysburg. A Journalist's Paranormal Journey continues. A further and major focus of these books is the history of the sites and how the history may well tie in with the hauntings. These books have opened countless doors for Don. And as he's been invited to investigate many Gettysburg and Northwest Ohio's most haunted sites, he's also been invited to speak at paranormal conferences and events. And he's a frequent guest on podcasts, radio, and television shows. Through it all, he remains a skeptic, and he tries to either debunk or validate his personal experiences. Don is currently working on a new book. He has not yet settled on the title, but the book focuses on the experience of the 107th Ohio Volunteer Infantry Regiment at Gettysburg and Chancellorsville during the Civil War. This is a combination of straight, well-researched history combined with a look at compelling and very personal paranormal experiences that led Don to this unit's story. Although retired from the daily Bryan Times newspaper, Don continues his weekly award-winning column in the Times, On My Mind. In addition to his books on the paranormal, Don's volume include a collection of his favorite columns, The Best of On My Mind, Hell on Belle Isle, A Diary of Civil War POW, Almost Award-winning Christmas Carols, and others. We welcome you to the Fox Den tonight. And here he is. Hi, John. Welcome to the Fox Den.
Glad to be here.
Oh, we're glad to have you. There are his two books right there down in the corner, if you're seeing them, and Sachs Bridge on the other side. And the background, if you've noticed, is Sachs Bridge. That's behind us, and that's the inside of the bridge. It's a very famous and well-known haunted spot of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Now, I've gotten a few things there myself. Not too much, a little bit on the flare. Looked like I got some people walking on the end there, but there's always a lot of people there, and you know that. So it's tough to go there and actually get stuff now. But we'll get to that, though. So first thing first, everybody share the show. That's first and foremost.
I did.
Oh, you're a good girl.
I don't want to get in trouble.
No, you don't want to be on my bad side. But John, you are a professional writer and since the mid-'70s. But the first book on the paranormal that you wrote, I Met a Ghost at Gettysburg, A Journalist's Journey into the Paranormal, was published only a few years ago. So why tackle the subject like now?
It was not a subject that I had any interest at all in for most of my life. I mean, I didn't even believe my own grandmother, a Southern Baptist minister's wife, telling me about living in a haunted parsonage in Louisiana. And my grandmother was very serious. She had a sense of humor, but she was not joking with these stories. And I used to just think to myself, well, Grandma, you should have laid off the spicy Cajun food before you went to bed. I mean, that was my take on it. But my wife and I have purchased, well, actually the house that I'm in tonight, 1835 home in Northwest Ohio. And as soon as we started working on it, we started having experiences. We worked on it for several years before we moved in. It was in horrible shape, but it is so original. We were lucky to find it. The first things that we would hear would be footsteps. Sometimes I would just tell myself, well, it's an animal or this or that. The gentleman who lived here for 24 years before we bought the house saw us working outside, and he stopped by and he comes running up to us. We're working outside. He says, did you guys know this house is haunted? And I'm thinking, really? And I'm biting my tongue thinking, well, this explains all the half-empty booze bottles we keep finding hidden around the house. I mean, that was my attitude. But he proceeded to tell us some things he experienced. But one of them was that he would be downstairs and he would hear footsteps running across the the south bedroom, into the central bedroom, across the hall, into the north bedroom, and the door would slam. I'm thinking, yeah, right. But not too long after talking to him, I had that exact experience. I was working downstairs at night. We had no power to the house. We were afraid to trust the electricity until we had it rewired. And I thought, what in the world? That had to be a raccoon, but the door's shut. So I go upstairs with the flashlight, looking around, and the place was solid dust. The middle bedroom floor was so rotted a person would probably have fallen through. And then the door that I had distinctly heard slam and even heard the metallic click of the latch was jammed partway shut. You couldn't move the door at that time. That has been repeated a number of times through the years. That got my attention.
You think?
A little bit.
A little bit. Oh, and, my goodness.
Electronic things really got me going. I had purchased a radio player with a radio with a CD player at a garage sale, used one, figuring that the sawdust and whatnot would probably ruin it from the construction work. And this thing would turn off, turn on by itself, change radio stations. So I just thought the thing was defective. I pitched it, bought a brand new one. The new CD player and radio would come on by itself, turn off by itself, change radio stations by itself. So I'm wondering what's going on.
Right.
And these experiences just kept coming.
Jeez, that is.
I was still at the newspaper when these were going on, and I would talk to some of my coworkers, some of my friends. Luckily, my wife, experienced these things also out here working, and my coworkers at the paper kept saying, "You need to write about this. This is like amazing." They know me well enough that I wouldn't be making this up. I was pretty selective who I would tell, but they did. They kept telling me, "You need to write about this." My wife kept saying, "You need to write about this." Eventually, I did, but it took me a while.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I'm a decorator, designer. I've worked on so many houses, and ripping apart houses. Yeah, I get kicked up so much energy in so many houses, and a lot of activity. And this house, as well, is very haunted. And Bob sees things, and I see things, and I'll say, tell him what I saw. Like, I saw a little boy. I don't even know where the little boy came from. He has not been in this house. I mean, I have like the resident people that are always here, and I left my office, and there's the stairs to go up to the attic, and I see the bottom part of the boy, like the waist down. So I see like the shorts and like little taller socks, you know what I mean? And you could definitely tell that period, type clothing, but I couldn't see anything up above. But it's definitely a little boy just sitting on the steps. And what really irritates me is you can see right into my bedroom from where he's sitting.
Little boy,
yes, a little boy, like
close the door.
9 and 10 maybe, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Small. But then I told Bob about it. He goes, "I told you I saw him on the couch downstairs." But I haven't seen him since, and he only saw him that one time. So you never know, who's passing through. But it's fascinating. It still fascinates me till today. You never know what you're gonna get wherever you go.
Yeah, and we don't see too much here at the house. Other people will see things, and different people will see the same thing. People who don't know each other, which I think is pretty good validation.
Yeah, absolutely.
A little girl ghost. Now we hear the little girl very frequently. She will actually walk around the perimeter of our bedroom while we're sleeping. My wife has a necklace stand on the dresser, and we will hear the necklaces kind of a tinkling sound, and we've actually even seen them move, and there's no natural explanation.
I just posted a video about that, like not too long ago. What was that? Like maybe a month ago, maybe. I was sitting in bed drinking my coffee, and the night before, and I always wear a different like box necklace for the show, and I wore this little heart with a fox in it, and I put it on the end of a big strip of necklaces. There's a ton of necklaces on there. All right. And I'm sitting there, I see a ball of light, like a white streak, come out of my bathroom, went by there and took that necklace and moved just that one necklace. So, I had my phone in my hand and I was playing my game. I play Scrabble every morning. And so I'm playing my games and I look over and I see this. I'm like, oh, so I start filming it, and it's just that one necklace, moving. And if it was anything else, and I posted it, I mean, if it was a bump on the floor or a bang or something would have moved it or anything like that, all the necklaces would have been moving. But it was just that one. So that was really, but I saw the streak of light because that's what caught my attention, and then I I had the camera in my hand. So I was film, and that's the investigator in me. It's like, go to it, film it, get it on tape.
Stop whatever I'm doing and film.
Yes. Record or film, digital recorders, never leave home without one. You found that out, right? You were doing an SB7. Yeah. Well, you know what? That's a good segue to that story. So tell that story about your SB7 experience in Sachs Bridge.
Yeah, and that really is the experience that led me to finally to write a book on the paranormal. But this would have been spring break in 2014. My grandson and I would take spring break trips to historic places, and he picked the location. He picked Gettysburg. So we're there for the history. Nothing to do with the paranormal, but I had registered as a journalist. That would get us behind the scenes at some of the places like the Visitor Center and whatnot. Yeah. One of the things offered through that was a free ghost investigation. And so I just thought this was to entertain my grandson. I thought this was total touristy hoax, And yeah, I told him about it. He says, yeah, Grandpa, that sounds cool. Let's do that. So I called up and they said, yeah, we'll take you to Sachs Bridge. And I was rather disappointed. I'd seen the bridge years ago before it was restored. And I really wanted to go to, like a field hospital or, someplace cool, not just a covered bridge. But the young investigator said, you'll like Sachs Bridge. So we're there, and as you alluded to earlier, it was very crowded, a lot of people around. We were given our selection of equipment to use. I had never been on an investigation before, and we each had a K2 meter. We had, I'm just trying to think what all. We did have like a laser grid. Like there was a Mel meter there, but anyway, we're there. It's to be 2 hours, and the first about hour and 55 minutes were to me a total waste of time. We got one blip on the K2 meter, just a simple question from our investigator. She asked, "Can you tell us what color?" Oh, and we did get yes on the SB7. Can you tell us what color coat one of us is wearing? And we got blue. I was wearing a blue coat. That was underwhelming. A little blip on the K2 at that time. So, okay. The investigator said she saw a shadow figure. My grandson said he saw one. I don't doubt them. I didn't see anything. Well, it comes to about 5 minutes left in the investigation. We finally had the bridge to ourselves. It was just before 11 p.m. And the investigator was going to go start the car to warm it up. It was a cold evening, and my grandson and I are sitting on the bridge. We each had a K2. We had the SB7. We had gotten, and I'll back up. Before she went to start the car, we did get a few hits on the SB7. Is anyone with us? Yes. How many of you are with us? 7, 8, 9, which kind of intrigued me. And then she said, well, what year is it? And it sounds like 1863. Makes sense. Then it died off. So this is when she goes to start the car. And I'm sitting there thinking, how in the world are they pulling off a hoax? They want to hoax this journalist, get him to write a good story about their ghost investigations. We're sitting there, and I just thought, okay, if this really is a spirit, what would get it going? So I said, do you like jokes? And got a very polite, yes, sir.
Nice.
this is kind of cool. So I said, well, do you like music? I'm trying to think what would relate to a soldier in 1863. And it was like the entity was almost upset that I would even ask that question. He said, of course. And okay, my grandson, bless his heart, he says, can you play for us? And says, absolutely. And we started hearing acoustic guitar music over the SB7. Now, this wasn't blips of music from a radio station bleeding through. This was solid measures of acoustic guitar. It sounded very period. I could not recognize the tune. And then a little bit later, a mandolin. Now, the investigator came back about this time. Her eyes are like this big around, and her mouth is just, wow. Just staring.
Because that's a lot. That's a lot for a spirit to get through in one session like that. You know, that takes a lot of energy to do that. So you had a super connection there, and the energy was just right, you know, to get so much as you did. And just to explain to anybody that doesn't know what the SB7 is, that's, you know, we make the Easy Scan ghost boxes. So it's easy to use, easier than a SB7, but it scans the radio waves, but it goes through so many radio stations really fast. But if you're getting an answer over all of those radio stations in the same voice or the same music playing over all those things, it cannot possibly be the radio station, you know, or any one of those radio stations. It's not on that station long enough, you know.
That's a great explanation of how they work too. Put, I think, really well. But yeah, we heard what we thought was a mandolin kicking in. Now our investigator thought it was a piano, but it was high pitched string. And this went on for like 10 minutes, kind of fading in and out. When finally it faded out, I said, "Wow, you're good." Voice says, "Thank you." And then I said, "Can you play some more?" He said, "Absolutely." And we got more, and this time a harmonica kicked in with the others. And even my grandson, "That's a harmonica." Yeah. And the same
old was
thing
your grandson?
For several months. He was 14 at the time. He is
great age.
Yeah, he's 19 now.
Yeah.
But that was just mind blowing. But then after the music faded away,
you'll like the ghost box better. My ghost box is easier to use. It's push a button, turn a knob, and push a button, and it's going. Not having to program the little SB7 and plug in a speaker and all that crap.
I've been able to use some really good ones with some other investigators. They do. They blow the SB7 away, really.
Yeah, and then you can hook a portal up to it and everything else too, so you can take out all the white noise. And yeah, we can talk equipment later, but I didn't mean to interrupt your story. But she just
the SB7. that is fine. But no, then we started after the music's done, we started getting some more answers to questions. And the investigator kept asking, "Can you tell us your name?" We got a 3-syllable answer. It was like, on. The on in the middle was clear, and then kind of a hard sound at the end. And she kept saying, "Can you enunciate more clearly? We can't understand." And it was like this entity, whatever, really wanted us to know his name.
Right.
I've repeated many times. Finally, we gave up. We just couldn't be sure. But on. And then, well, how old are you? We got a 20. And then unsolicited, we got captain. Pretty interesting. So I'm saying, well, what state are you? Where are you from? What state? And I couldn't understand the answer. Another downside to the SB7. It can sometimes be very...
if you record it though, and you go back and you listen on the computer, you know, if you put it on WavePad or Audacity or whatever program that you would use that you'd listen to your EVPs on, you can repeat it. Then you hear so much more. You know, you're thinking you're getting one answer and you're really getting 3 for the same question when you do that. So I highly recommend anytime you use SB7 or the Easy Scan Ghost Box from Vortex Ghost Gear, always record. Shameless plug number, I don't know, 4 or something.
Love it.
But always use a recorder and record your sessions no matter what. Always.
And this, the same part of this is we did have the opportunity to have taken a recorder with us, not being at all experienced in investigating, and I didn't want to mess with it. That's something I definitely regret to this day. But finally, I'm going through the states listening. Okay, well, are you from Virginia? Da, da, da. I didn't know if this was a Confederate or Union soldier. And when I said Ohio, said yes. And I said, grandson and I are from Ohio. And we each were holding a K2, as was our investigator. My grandson's K2, my K2 went clear to the top red and stayed there, but hers did not. The investigators didn't budge. We got a few more answers later, like how many are with us. It was a smaller number, like 5 or 6. And then the investigator said, "Were you hurt?" And we got, and this sends chills down my spine to this day, this chilling scream, male scream of total anguish. Just, and then a woman crying. Took the wind out of our sails. And as it happened, somebody came on the other end of the bridge. We heard them getting results. Ours quit at that point, and so we left. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, how in the world did they pull this off? They broadcast music somehow to this thing. How did they know what I was going to be interested in? How would they, know I'm from Ohio? I don't think I'd ever shared that. All this stuff. I'm thinking, how in the world did they pull this off to try to pull a hoax on this journalist? The investigator, I peppered this poor girl with questions the whole way back into town, and she seemed very sincere, and she said she'd never had anything like that in an investigation before. So when we got back, I had my grandson and I shared our recollections. We wrote them down immediately. This happened, this is how I remember it, so that we had it fresh on our mind. And I was going to go home and debunk this. So we did. We go home. I started talking to people or investigating how this works, researching, and everybody in the field that I contacted said, "No, that's how these work. You get nothing, you get nothing, you'll get a lot." They said, "This is exceptional." And then when it quits, it'll often quit. You can't broadcast to it. As you explained, it's scanning radio stations. If you're getting music over, several measures, that can't be blips from the station. The other thing I thought is, okay, were there any Ohio captains killed at Gettysburg or mortally wounded? So I researched that. Turns out there were 7 Ohio captains killed or mortally wounded at Gettysburg. One of them, his name was Mahlon Briggs. 3 syllables.
Look at that. Yeah, and you got the part.
Mahlon Briggs was captured, badly wounded on the day 1 of the battle, was captured by the Confederates. Many of the worst wounded prisoners of the Confederates ended up at Sachs Bridge. Actually, Sachs Bridge, the area surrounding it, was one vast field hospital. But Mahlon Briggs died July 3rd, possibly at Sachs Bridge. That left me stunned.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much history there, and the hangings that are supposed to be in the bridge, and there's a lot of a lot that can be said about Sachs Bridge, and you never know. Like you said, you don't know who you're gonna get, when you're gonna get it, who's gonna be coming through, and it does take a lot of their energy to do that. So usually it's like you usually don't get if you're getting video, you're not going to get audio. If you're getting audio, you're not going to get the, video and, things like that. They'll put their energy into one thing. So if they chose you, probably because they know they can sense you and that you have this background, probably that you'd research into them or something. You know what I mean? Because you have that demeanor about
it's like,
so I think
he wanted a story.
Yeah, I think they know that about people, even when people are going to certain locations, like a lot of psychics will say, "Oh, they're preparing for me. They know that I'm coming." I truly believe that, when you're going somewhere. So, yeah.
From
that's
a person who's never been to an investigation, hearing your story and knowing the way I think, yes, I believe that they knew who you were. This gentleman, Malon, knew exactly who you were and knew exactly that if he told you and he made you believe that this is the way his story gets shared. And it wasn't just happenstance that, okay, you were lucky enough to get this guy. He knew exactly. Because a lot of people who go may not have told the story the way you would, may not have started them on the journey of writing the book that you did.
Yeah. And always, I don't care who you are, a newbie will get the info.
Well, that's why you want to go with me.
Right. We take a lot of people. We ghost excursions. We take a lot of people on ghost hunts. We do David Stewart Farm down at in Getty's and a couple other locations we're going to look into down there too, to take people to. But always the new ones get the best information. I don't know why that is. Maybe they're not tainted in their brain. Maybe they're that open to it or whatever, or just like, or disbelief and they want to prove you wrong. I don't know what it is, but the newbies always get it. It never fails.
Now I know. That's why everybody wants to go on an investigation with me. Okay.
That's right. That's right.
And actually, the photo on the cover of the I Met a Ghost book, that is Malin Briggs. I was able to chase down his photograph also.
Let me get a bigger picture of that up for you people here. There you go. So I met a ghost at Gettysburg right there, and the second one there is I met more ghosts at Gettysburg. So from the second book, I grabbed these pictures. So this is the picture. That's you in Sachs Bridge. And down below is a field hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And the other is one of the many, 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 many signs that are around Gettysburg battlefields that tell you about the events that took place in that area. And that's Law's Brigade.
Uh-huh.
And now down below, this is a picture that I thought was really kind of apropos. There's you with Cat Hobson, and Henry. And when I first met you was at the Gettysburg Gathering, and Henry, you were on his show. I was on Henry's show. I had to leave the gathering to go do be a guest on his show. The first time I met you at the gathering. Cool. So I was like, oh, look at this picture. Because I know Cat well. She's got a great show. She's awesome. We play Scrabble together every day. I love Cat. Yeah, I love Cat. I certainly will. I love Cat. And and I had to go down to Mr. G's, another haunted location in Gettysburg. So I went down to Mr. G's. He was doing his show upstairs above the ice cream shop, and I was only supposed to stay for half the show and ended up staying for the whole show. I don't know why.
Of course. I didn't say that. You have a lot of good information. And what I like about both of you is, like I said, non-investigator. What I like about both of you is that you speak about it that anybody can understand. You don't, because I listen to a lot of shows. I watch, you pay attention, and some people kind of talk up here. They talk about the equipment that they use, but they never tell you what. Like you guys explained what an SP7 was.
SB, yeah.
SB. Yeah. See, I get the idea. Just shiny moment. What can I say? So that's what I like, is when people explain it so that if I can understand it, anybody can understand it.
Right. Well, but this is the thing with the SB7s. People would always say, oh, well, that's, it's just radio. It's just whatever. Then from the SB7, they came out with the SB11, which is 2 spirit boxes in one machine. So you could play one forward, one backwards. You could change the speeds. You have all these different speeds that you can adjust it to. It has a cold, hot temperature thing on it. A lot of things. I mean, there is so much equipment out there because all our senses are being tested. And that's what we need. The best thing for Gettysburg, which, I mean, I would love to go down Gettysburg with you because I think they like you, Don. I mean, I'd love to do investigation. Bob, I'm sure, would too. But we have our HTOs, which are proximity, and you can hook them directly to a metal object. And he's done this several times down there. For his show, for our show, but his show, Ghost Detectives, putting the clip on the Union belt buckle and the Confederate belt buckle and asking, well, what side do you want to touch? The belt buckle will light up, So you can do that, and you can use the HTO too as like a yes/no device. You know what I mean? You can answer questions and say, well, tap it once for yes, tap it twice for no, and it will light up. Bing, 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 bing. So it's a proximity thing. So if anything goes near it, will go off. And they use that on Ghost Nation on a sword in Gettysburg. So
yes, I think I saw that episode. Yes.
Yeah. So that's, that'll be a reference that you could, other people could go and see. Oh, I just noticed over here, the private chat.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what am I missing?
Nothing.
Hi, Drita. Hi, Ken.
Hey, everyone. We got a lot of people in the chat room coming and going, and I can see the wheels spinning, and a lot of people have a lot. So if anyone has a question, please pop it into the chat room, and and those of you who are just listening to us on archive, you can always go over to our YouTube channel and pop in a question, and we'll answer them.
Yeah, you can call in too if you really wanted to.
Yeah,
you could ask Donna. Yeah, if you have a story to tell about Gettysburg, if you wanted to ask Don a question specifically, you can call in. We'll put you live on air. I mean, I don't know why a lot of people don't do that, but
yeah. Area code 713-955-0384 or area code 818-431-8214. Don't be shy. Call in. Yeah. Only Gina bites.
Oh, don't believe that.
Okay, we'll ask Bob.
Oh, all right. Let's see. All right, so I'm gonna reel it back in. I want to talk more about the I don't know where we are in here. No, I'm not gonna do that.
I've been paying attention, sort of, kind of, to the questions, and the one I have is which makes your background as a journalist and a newspaper editor. How does that affect the way people look at your books and the way you put the books out there?
It is an incredible resource. And I'll backtrack a little bit. As I was driving home, my wife and I operate our own publishing company, publish our books and others, but I picked up these books from the printer, and on my way home, I met a ghost at Gettysburg, stacks of cases of these boxes in my van. I'm thinking, what in the leap have I done? People are going to think I have lost my mind. I can picture standing in front of an audience, people just jeering, It turns out that was exactly opposite. It has opened doors. People will listen to me. I mean, I've been on PBS, on interview shows having nothing to do with the paranormal. I've been asked to be back to many shows that have nothing to do with the paranormal because it does. People see that as credible. And I think it's right, because if I was not credible, I'd have lost my job a long time ago. I've worked in the field for over 40 years. I'd have been out on my ear, decades ago if I wasn't. So yes, it's made people really sit up and take notice.
Oh, absolutely. And I was the same way too, being an interior designer. It's like, well, no one talks about it. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of interior designers going through the same stuff. Well, maybe not as much as me, because they would just design it and send it off to builders. I was actually doing it. So
but you're also a light to it, because everything just sort of. I've seen, like I said, I've never been on an investigation, but I've seen all this stuff that you share with me. And it's like, holy guacamole, Batman. And I'm being nice. See, nobody in the cuss jar there. My
cuss jar needs some coinage.
Oh, look, with your cuss jar, I am building a mansion up here in Canada. Okay, let's get down with that one.
Well, but anyway, but Joan asked, has Dawn ever been touched by a ghost?
Yes, I have. The only place it's ever happened is here in my, well, I'll take it back. It had it happen not too long ago, but here in my own house, I've been touched twice in the basement, which is a very active place. Once on my hand while I was standing talking to my wife. Another time I was kneeling down and something unexplained twitched my ear, very noticeable.
Yeah.
And the funniest one, I was working out back, another active area outside the house. I was bent over and my underwear was snapped. And there was nothing to explain that, nothing whatsoever.
Oh, that's
your wife
say,
put
oh,
her
you
foot
got a
down.
ghost wedge. But yeah, hard to explain. And I did feel myself being touched actually at the old Westwood School in Rudolph, Ohio, just about a month ago during an investigation. And other people in our group in the room experienced the same thing.
All right. Now, have you ever used a thermal camera?
I have not actually operated it, but I've been on many investigations where people did have thermal cameras. Yes,
Right.
Seen some interesting phenomena on them also.
Right. I'm going to play my apparitions walking video because it's a shorter clip of a longer clip where the whole clip was 15 apparitions walking, and one of them was above because it's a sunken basketball court, and we were underneath one of the basketball nets, and there was a room in the middle, like a changing room, and they were in there and they were coming out, and I had a SB7 going, so you'll hear that in the background where nothing comes over because we've seen them, kind of backs up, it's really rare. If you get something that you see and something you hear at the same time, really rare. But don't be afraid of that device. It's just so we can hear you talk. Now, as you see them walking, they are void of heat. If there was any heat at all, they would be orange or yellow. But anything on the darker end, purple or black, is void of heat. Come in. Hello. Hi. And my friend is does not believing. What's your name? You want to play basketball with us? She's like, I don't know. Hello. Keep coming. It's okay. We're not going to hurt you. Right there. Look at it. That's one for the cuss jar. Don't be afraid of us. Come in. That's you. Come in. So they're walking in. She had to fill the cuss jar on that one, but the cuss got a little bit worse after that. But then there was like a group of them, and they wouldn't leave like that doorway. They wouldn't come out because we were in there, But it's a feeble-minded school, and so we were interrupting them. So that, because they didn't come out, makes you, first of all, know it's an intelligent haunting going on because they're recognizing the fact that you're there and they're afraid to come out. I don't think they understood that they could talk over the SB7. I don't think they understood that whole concept, So again, all investigations are know your audience, and how to treat your audience too. But catching things, like that was just crazy. I mean, it was crazy. I was like in awe just standing there watching them. And then when you've seen the whole thing, and I mean, my arm was tired at the end of the 15 minutes. I was like, oh my God, my battery's going to die. I'm thinking all these things. I'm like, oh, please don't die. I got to catch this because I'd never seen anything like this ever, because you see the shows on TV and this and that, and they get one word and they're so excited about one word and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my God, I get sentences, conversations, all that walking around and back and forth. And, you just don't see it.
Now, one of the things that you mentioned for those people who are listening, who are not paranormally informed, which I'm kind of sort of halfway there. You said for that much energy, for a spirit to do that much, especially the conversation that Don had in the overpass, the bridge, that takes a lot of energy. Why?
Well, because they're on a different realm, so they're trying to come into our realm, like a psychic has to raise their vibration
Right.
to be on their level. They have to either try to bring their level down or, exude themselves and gather energy where they can. In houses like your house, your old house, they'll take it out of the energy, the electricity, your electronics, your everything. That's why a lot of our equipment goes dead in a lot of places. In certain locations, they're grabbing that energy just to try to get through to you.
Yeah, I think sometimes they draw it from us. We have a lot of problems here when I'm working at the house. The restoration batteries going dead on our battery operated tools. I mean, it'll be so bad that like I'll have 3 batteries for a drill and the batteries will go dead, like boom, boom, boom. And I have to resort to a plug-in drill, get out the extension cord.
I hate that. But yeah, that's exactly it. And fear, fear feeds a lot of spirits and anxiety. Everyone has a different. We're all energy. Energy is what it is, and it cannot be destroyed. So when we die, your energy is still there. It just changes, and that's the only thing energy can do.
I will be forever around. People get that. I'm never going away.
Yeah. Yes, you will always be somewhere. And one shape or form. So.
Kendra Hatley in the chat room says, yep, my lights burn out and my phone will stop working.
Yeah. Yep. So that's why we have bags and bags of equipment and tons of batteries.
If your phone's battery powered, that wouldn't have anything to do with your life. So if it's a landline, the debunker, the skeptic in me would say, check your electric system. Maybe there's some issues. But if the phone's battery powered, then I don't think that would be a connection.
Yeah. I mean, there's one thing, it's like you think you learn, like, oh, I think I've seen it all. You've never seen it all. You don't know what they're going to do next. You're always learning. You're always, listen to other people. And this is how we learn too, is by I'm learning from you, listening to your experiences and what you went through and, why you decided to write books. I learned from you. But that's the thing. It's like you need the helping hands in the community to help each other and not be like, oh, well, I've got the best thing and you don't know what you're talking about and blah, blah, blah,
We all bring something different to the equation. You're much more tech savvy. I love the tech. I love working with the tech. I'm not a tech guy. I'm not a techie. I appreciate it, but I learn from other people. And a lot of times I know I'm doing better to step back, let the tech people go. I seem to do have a knack for feeling energies, for maybe saying the right thing to stimulate a spirit to talk. And I think my role is maybe putting this out there in a form that maybe will get people's attention, so they'll start opening their minds a little bit to the existence of the afterlife, if you want to call it that, the other world, whatever term you'd like to give it.
Right. Yeah, I do think what you do is imperative. The study, the history. There's nothing worse. There's nothing worse. You're going to investigate on a battlefield. You're not going to be talking about ponies. Maybe horses. You know what I'm saying, right? You're not going to be asking them about weird things.
You're not going to be asking about them dancing,
rap music, or you know what I mean. They'll be like, "Get out of here." Nothing to do with you. Being a psychic pull out a lot from us as well. Yes, well, yeah. Anyone that empaths, psychics, Kendra just says that being a psychic, they pull a lot out of them, right? Meaning energy. Yes, empaths. It's imperative to ground and shield. Imperative, so that you won't get drained or attached to, or things like that. Those things do happen, especially in a place like the battlefields. I mean, think about it. 51,000 people died. You think there's going to be some energy there? Yeah. You think it's going to be everywhere you go? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think it didn't affect
Pretty much.
everybody? Not even just the soldiers, the families of the soldiers. Look at the Jenny Wade house. Right? There are other casualties besides just the soldiers. So there's a lot. There's a lot, and they'll feed off each other too. So,
So very true. And to me, the emotions of it all, I have gotten into dowsing rods. I used to not think anything of them. But once I have seen them used properly, learn how to use them properly, I think that your body is the receptor to the energies that operate them. And it's the same science as behind using them to find a well, for instance, or a water source, the electromagnetic energy of the water, the electromagnetic energy of the spirits, whatever term to use. And I can go to Sachs Bridge, and I can only do this if nobody else is there, which is the difficult part, or at least if they're maybe on the other side of the bridge. But if I go to the far end from where you would typically park coming from town, I can, using dowsing rods, I get a soldier from the 47th Alabama. I have gotten him 3 different times. I found out who he was just by the yes/no, the crossing of the dowsing rods, the process of elimination. He's from the 47th Alabama. I forget the company, but I have it written down. And I've asked questions like, do you miss home? Yes. Of course, I got you're from Alabama, the regiments. I knew which Alabama regiments were there, process of elimination. So did you leave somebody behind?
I got to interrupt just for 1 second. Do you record when you do that as well?
The best way to do this is to have someone take video. Yes, and I do have some video.
If you have a recorder going, right? Because I've done this too. We've done dowsing rod sessions. And the recorder going too. We've gotten answers that validate the answers on the dowsing rod.
I do usually have a recorder going. With this particular soldier, I do not get anything, but I've had others with him give answers. Wow. He seems to be the one controlling the dowsing rods. He had a couple buddies with him from his same regiment that I was able, like, are you alone? No, how many are with you? And one of them did give me a name. I have that written down. But no, this soldier, to the point that, did you leave someone behind that you miss? Yes. Were you married? Yes. Did you have kids? Yes. How many kids? 1, nothing. 2, nothing. 3, yes. But the one that really gets me, and again, I can feel the emotion as I relate this. I said, "Are you glad to talk to me? Do you appreciate me being here to talk with you?" And the rods were just crossing with some energy. When I asked that question, the rods thumped across my chest, bounced off my chest. Very moving.
Do you ever find too, when you haven't asked a question yet, and if they're really adamant, they'll shake, they'll vibrate. The same thing with a pendulum; it will shake. It's like, come on, ask the question. I want to talk.
You can feel the energy in an amazing way when you're really getting a good fight going with the spirit.
Yeah. Have you ever played with just even like a compass there?
I've not played with a compass. I have tried.
That might work for you.
I'll have to give that a try. I've never even really heard of using that, actually.
Oh yeah, they make a compass spin. Yeah,
cool.
It's electromagnetic. I mean, that's just old divination stuff, old tips and techniques. But if you have an old-fashioned one, you can say, "Can you point me in the right direction?" And maybe they will.
Mm-hmm. And I have used dowsing rods, like where are you? With this 47th Alabama soldier, and he always points to a spot just off the bridge, always the same spot. Both the rods point.
Wow. Nice. Yeah, using the rods is definitely a talent that you gotta master. You know, I mean, a lot of people holding their hands together. It's like your hands got to be slightly apart, not way out here, but just slightly apart because your energy, your field. If you do this again, and I've done this quite a bit, and you rub your hands like this, and you pull your hands apart, and your hands should be tingling, and then you stop bringing them in. Like I'm way out here, I can feel the energy way out here, But as you're bringing it in, you can feel this energy. The same thing with the dowsing rods because you're using this energy in this field to connect. And they'll move it. So it's really cool. And always ask when you start a dowsing rod, can you please show me what yes is? And can you please show me what no is? So that you know what your answers are. Because you might think they're saying yes,
And I've had good luck just saying, will you cross the rods for yes? And I've had good luck just doing it that way as well.
Yeah. Just to know that, the point is to know what definitive yes or no is. Same thing with the pendulum, show me what yes is, show me what no is, whether it's circle back and forth or, up and down, and they will definitely give you those answers. What time we got here? Oh, okay. All right. In about 10 minutes, we got to take our little break. Mama always does, one of these things to me.
I'll do something. TikTok. Okay, so let me get a question in here because you guys are having a great time. So I'm sticking to the questions. I keep it on track. Not. Originally, when you wrote the book, you were only going to write one book, but you've got the second book. What was it? What made you go deeper in the well?
Well, my intent was, okay, I've written the book on the paranormal. Now I'm going to move on to another subject, like as a journalist, you often do. The reception to that book was amazing. As I was promoting the book, going to Gettysburg, to different events promoting it, just the reception from people was outstanding. And I kept getting invited to shows like this, to PBS, to, some print stories and so forth, which introduced me to people in the paranormal field. They were inviting me to investigations and so forth. And it just mushroomed. It just exploded. And I had to write the second book.
That is, yeah.
Now,
I
haven't had a chance to read your books, but I plan on it. But you in the beginning said that everybody kept telling you to write a story about all the stuff that's going on in your house. Has that been done? That
is part of both books, actually.
Okay, so it's not a book in itself.
Especially the first book. Right. And I may do a book just on the house. But I kind of, the books are really almost a personal exploration into the paranormal. As a matter of fact, the subtitle, Paranormal Journey, Journalist Paranormal Journey. And that's really what the books are about. My personal experiences and what I've discovered. And the house is a huge part of that.
Yeah. Did you feel like the house called you to it? Like I knew I was going to get this house. I looked at 100 houses.
I have watched this house since I was a young boy. It's the oldest brick house in our county. This is one of the last parts of Ohio settled. It's a great black swamp. And there's nothing like this house around here. You usually have to go further east or southern Ohio to find it. And I always watched this house, and I watched it slowly deteriorate. And as luck would have it, my son was looking for a house, and he saw a listing, and I saw the pictures. Oh, that's this house. So I went with him to look at it. Well, it was in far worse shape than he wanted to deal with. He needed something he could live in right away. But I was intrigued. I've always been fascinated. Now, I will backtrack, too, to an experience I had many years before we bought the house. I would drive past the house. It's on US 127 many, many times. Well, as a journalist, I was covering a meeting in West Unity, Ohio, which from Bryan, I had to drive past the house to get there. On the way to this meeting, for some reason, I noticed that there's actually a little hill, like a ridge that the house is on. And I saw a car kind of pop up coming the other way. I said, I'd never noticed that there's a hidden spot there. That's weird. And it just stuck in my mind. Well, I'm coming home after dark after the meeting. And as I come around the curve and start approaching the house, I felt this intense almost a command. I didn't hear voices or anything, but slow down, which is not like me at all. And I did slow down, maybe 60 to maybe 30 or 35 as I'm approaching the house from the little hill. A car was passing on that hill coming right at me. Had I been going 60 miles an hour, I would hit head on at a high speed. As it was, I was able to slam on the brakes and just avoid a collision. I was shaking after that. Told my wife about it when I got home, and I was still just shaking.
You got some pretty powerful guides, is what you got. Because we always say that. We say that a lot. Anytime you get an instinct, moment like that, gut feelings, those are direct communications from your spirit guides, your angels, whoever's watching out for you, and definitely trust them. If they're telling you to slow down, slow down. If they tell you don't go somewhere, don't go. It's not life-threatening, just because you don't go somewhere. But if something is,
it's like making plans to go to this one place that you've been wanting to go through, and 4 times in a row you make plans and you don't get there. You ain't supposed to get there.
Yeah. Waverly. I can't go to Waverly. Every time I go to Waverly, someone dies. It's like, oh my God. It's like a major thing. Someone in the family or a close friend or something major happens. I can't go to Waverly. So I'm not even going to try because I don't want anyone else to die. I'm like, no, there's not even going to.
You're meant to, but it's not.
Kendra wants you to add her to your friends list.
And Lisa said she'll be going to Gettysburg in a few weeks. They always visit the bridge, and we connect with someone named Caroline.
Interesting.
Yeah. I know, because the thing is like, when he got the names, he went and he looked it up. Caroline, I don't know who Caroline would be or what she does. I mean, I would ask. That's the thing. That's the thing about investigating. You ask the questions, that sunken basketball court where I just showed those apparitions walking. There's the room that gets in there from upstairs. There's a spiral staircase in there, and it went to like nowhere. And I'm like looking in there, and I have the recorder going, and I'm talking to my friend and everything. I'm like, oh, do they have that in there? The EVP was for rushing back and forth. It's like, duh. So ask what you want to know. Her story was
a buggy accident.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because there's a lot of stories. There's stories about like what slaves being hung on there, 3 slave women being hung. And supposedly you see their apparitions like more like 3/4 of the way down the bridge, I guess.
And I've heard of the story as being 3 Confederate deserters, and I've never been able to find any documentation of any of those accounts.
Nope. None of it. But it's the area. The area is just so crazy. I mean, it's hard to document when a battle is going on. Who's going to sit there and, document every little thing. So stories are stories, but that's why you try to find out the truth by investigating.
Exactly. And one thing I'm going to bring this a little bit back to the questions as well, is that you 2 guys are like 2 separate entities. You're not on the same team, but yet the stories that you're sharing, the everything that you're sharing is good. Now, I've heard a lot of, like there's prejudice in regards to serious investigations on things, and there's a lot of people in groups who can't get along. So, what's your comment on that one?
That is a difficult situation in any field, I find. And I've seen schisms and splits in paranormal groups. I've seen the same thing in living history groups that I'm involved with. It's part of the human condition, I think.
Yeah, it's an ego thing. People think that they know it all, and it's their way of the highway. It's like it's got to be done like this, and oh no, that doesn't count because you didn't do it this way. It's like no. It's different for everybody. Everybody is going to get a different piece of history. Everyone is going to connect with a different spirit. If I'm standing there and you're standing there, there's going to be one spirit that's going to want to connect to you, one spirit that's going to want to connect to me, and they're all going to want to talk to Mama D.
Oh, Lordy, I'll be talking all night long, and I can do that.
That's a great way to explain it, really. I mean,
Yeah.
that's so true. I do investigating at some friends from Michigan bought the old Sanders farm outside of Gettysburg. And I've investigated in their basement, and there is what they believe to be a young black boy. They don't know if he was a runaway slave or perhaps a camp servant. It was a Confederate field hospital and cavalry camp, and he likes me. His name is oh shoot, it's terrible. It just was at the tip of my tongue. He'll get Jackson. Jackson. And that's the only, he won't give any, just Jackson, but he actually asks for me when others investigate there.
Oh, wow.
And they'll be trying to reach him in the basement. There's an investigation. I'll go downstairs. He'll say, "Hi, Don." And he will talk to me. One of the last times I was there, I had to leave early and the others are still there. And as I was going up the stairs, he says, "Goodbye, Don." And that's amazing to strike that connection.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. Like I'll get that too. Like connections to houses and things. Like I think that you were supposed to have that house. I think I'm supposed to have this house for whatever reason, whatever spirits. There's a lot of them here. To connect to. There's a reason for it, but like. They pick you, they choose you. Just driving into Gettysburg one day, we just stopped at the field hospital and I was just walking around outside, just taking pictures and such. And I walked over by a well and I'm standing there at the well talking, I think I was asking about, I don't know, surgeries or something. And then all of a sudden, my girlfriend that was with me, she went into the car. She's sitting in the car because she was cold. And I just wanted to walk around and take pictures and everything. So I got my recorder in my hand and taking pictures. And all of a sudden I hear like this not really deep voice, like, "Oh, like this. Like," and he goes, "Sorry." All right. Profanity. It says, "God damn you." Like something like that. And I was just like, okay, well, thank you. I mean, I'll find that. I actually just heard that again today because I was looking through. I was trying to find some stuff to show you, and I heard that and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot all about that. And I was just standing at the well, taking pictures. And I think because I asked about, I think it was maybe I might have even said about limbs because I know that when they were doing the surgeries, they were just like tossing limbs out the windows, and there was piles of limbs.
Okay. On that note, tossing the limbs, let's go to our commercial break.
All right. We will be back in about 3 minutes, people. Hang with us. Please share the show. The Fox Den is now proudly sponsored by Vortex Ghost Gear, one of the leading fabricators of paranormal equipment. Bob Christopher is the founder and creator of Vortex Ghost Gear. He has decades of investigating, starting with his team at NEPA, and as lead in the popular local TV show Ghost Detectives, he has experience of how spirits could be seen or heard. Using this knowledge, he has manufactured equipment for specific scenarios of spirit manifestation and communication. He is the only manufacturer of the popular lifelike trigger prop cats and dogs. Using proximity meters wired to lights and sound, these prove to be highly effective communication devices in the field of study. The HTO, another Vortex exclusive, allowing specific items to be the highlight or trigger of your investigation. For example, place the item on a metal tray or attach directly to any metal object such as keys or glasses that continue to go missing or moved. Ask the spirit to touch the item. The HTO will light. It has a sound option as well. This device was used in Travel Channel's Ghost Nation with great results. The Dome, a static detector, can be the most useful device in your gear bag. This is to back up the theory that the spirits manifest using static electricity. Using several, you can track a spirit, for example, walking down a hallway, setting off each as it passes. The geophone detects vibrations. This is another way to track movement. If a claim is footsteps in the hallway or stairwell, set the sensitivity and place the device in that area. Its band of lights will show a range of vibrations from the slightest tapping, lighting only a few lights, to the loudest thumping, lighting the entire range. The Easy Scan Ghost boxes are very popular due to the ease of use. They are custom decorated to the individual or team using them. Bob programs and uses an Arduino-based computer scanning FM waves to potentially communicate with the spirit realm in real time. Every box is unique and all custom hand decorated by Gina Bankston. The V-Pod has a special place for those who love the idea of REM pods. Use this sleeker, smaller, easier to transport device. It is a must-have in your gear bag. Take your investigating to the next level with many of Vortex Ghost Gear's unique and custom creations by Bob Christopher. Visit www.vortexghostgear.com to view all the products and get your equipment today. You can also investigate with Bob and Gina with ghostly excursions, taking people to some of the most haunted locations in the USA. Visit www.ghostlyexcursions.com and join us on our next adventure. And we're back. I just thought that you put a little comment in there. Hi, Anna. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. We have Don Allison with us. He wrote, I met a ghost in Gettysburg, and I met more ghosts in Gettysburg. And that's what we're talking about. Ghost paranormal equipment, his experiences. I can't help it. My experiences, just it's a shiny ball. It's like, I love this show.
So I keep pulling the string. Y'all get back on down. So here we go. We're going to start the second half off with before I met a ghost at Gettysburg. Your previous works dealt straight journalism and history. You said you planned to continue works in those areas. What led to your fascination with history?
Oh, gee, especially the Civil War history. My grandfather Allison, my dad's dad, used to just talk history, things he remembered especially, but things he heard and knew about our local area. And I always was fascinated by that. As far as the Civil War, my mom is from Alabama. My dad's from Ohio. They met when he was in the service during the Korean War. He was stationed at Fort Benning, Georgia. They married after he was discharged, and they took up housekeeping here, but I spent a lot of time in the South. My uncles used to take me to old entrenchments in the woods from Confederate battlefields. And it just always, for me, it's just firsthand. And it's not so much now, but the war was still very much alive, like back in the 1960s in Alabama, Georgia. As a matter of fact, my cousin's friends, I don't think any of them knew my name. I was Yank.
Wow.
Oh, lovely.
Ohio. And if the adults were around, I was Damn Yank.
Yeah, because that line goes through. There's some parts of Ohio that's south, and some part, like they could be brother fighting against brother, because that's right on that line.
Hatfields and the McCoys.
And I did have family on both sides, and that always fascinated me very much. Including family that fought at Gettysburg, which I did not know for many, many years until after my first book came out, or about the time I was writing it is when I started finding that out.
Yeah.
So that's where it's deep set for me, that interest.
Yeah.
So would you say your favorite historical topic is Gettysburg?
It's the Civil War, and Gettysburg is a huge part of that. Yes.
Yeah. I went through everywhere, though. Yeah. So in your latest thing, the 100th and the 107th Regiment, what was your fascination about that, and why are you studying that?
And this is the second time that something like this has happened to me on a battlefield, but Mahlon Briggs was in a brigade that fought on the first day of battle at Gettysburg. After he was wounded, I wanted to see, these poor guys were in the worst place imaginable on Barlow's Knoll. They were flanked by an overwhelming number of Confederates. and they fell back to East Cemetery Hill. And I was just curious what that position was. I had never really been around it. I didn't know a lot about it at the time. So a friend was with me in Gettysburg. I was promoting my first book, and during some downtime, I was doing this, and I'm looking at Maitland Briggs was in the 75th Ohio, and I was looking at the 75th position. I happened to notice markers for the 107th Ohio in that same brigade. And I was just curious. I'm walking up on their position, and all of a sudden, I was just struck. I've heard it be termed slammed. All of a sudden, I couldn't move. My energy was just being sucked from me, and I could see in my mind's eye this struggle in the dark, muzzle flashes, screaming, yelling, running, just total chaos. And I couldn't move. I couldn't talk. My friend said he thought I was having a stroke. He talked to me. I couldn't answer, so he's walking up to see what's wrong. And it took minutes before I could talk. And he's not into the paranormal, but he was very understanding when I explained. But I was so moved by this that when I got home, I had to look into what happened on East Cemetery Hill.
I'm more fascinated with what happened to you.
Yeah. Oh, it was amazing. And I wasn't right for hours after that. I was just kind of out of it. But when I got home, I thought, I'm going to research this. Well, before I even could start researching this, I had a talk soon after I got home at a local library on my first book. A very good friend of mine, fellow Civil War historian, heard my talk. I just mentioned that I'd been to Gettysburg. I didn't say anything about what I had done there. After the talk, my friend came up. So it's neat that you were just at Gettysburg. So we haven't talked. Did I tell you that I've been researching all the Ohio regiments that fought at Gettysburg? So did you know that the 107th Ohio had a company from our county? And
what
really? But so I started looking, and what happened at East Cemetery Hill was these guys were overrun by the Louisiana Tigers after dark on the second day of the battle. The Louisiana Tigers basically overran them, pushed them back. The 107th ended up holding, got some reinforcements, and retook the position. But they were German. They were treated very badly because of that ethnicity. I don't know if you're familiar with the 11th Corps of the Army of the Potomac, very heavy German element. They were always a hard luck unit. They were called the Running Half Moons. The Crescent Moon was their corps badge. They were called the Flying Dutchman. These poor guys at Chancellorsville, as I got looking into it, were in the worst possible place. Their flank right out basically in the open, and they were overwhelmed by, totally outnumbered by attacking Confederates and sent running. Anybody would have run. Nobody could have held in that position. They were made fun of and denigrated because they're German. Right. As luck would have it, first day at Gettysburg, there they are in Barlow's Knoll. They're flanked up in the air. They get overrun by an incredible number of Confederates, and they flee the field. And they're denigrated. They're running half moons. To add insult to injury, their colonel, who gave commands in German at times and had a heavy German accent, was a European native, was placed under arrest and charged with cowardice because he wasn't with his regiment on East Cemetery Hill. Here he was in downtown Gettysburg while everyone's fleeing past, trying to gather stragglers to put up a struggle, and he took what men he could gather, and he's trying to find a spot. He wasn't with this other part of his regiment. They were split because there were buildings behind them. And so the brigade commander detested this German regiment. It was the only one in the brigade, was always putting them down, always denigrating Colonel Meyer. So he had Colonel Meyer placed under arrest at the end of that battle. And he was court-martialed for cowardice. He was acquitted later, and it was strictly because he was German. Nobody else got that kind of treatment. So,
I hope this intrigues people to spark them into looking into the history, because all this
Yeah.
is documented. You can look all this up. You can look up the brigades. You can look up all the different battles that went through, where they went through, where they were held up. You also got some great stories like Little Round Top. The things that go on in all these different areas. It's insane. It's insane the way people were treated and the way they had to fight and just the carnage.
and if I had not done the research, that would have been just an experience that I had on East Cemetery Hill. Now it's
Yeah,
in perfect context, in perfect keeping. What I saw is exactly what happened, and I had no idea at the time that that's what happened there.
Wow.
Later, I was with my wife on their first day's position, the 107th. My wife is mostly German ancestry, and I had a K2 meter and an EVPs. My wife was taking pictures, and I'm just asking, is anybody here? I started naming names, Colonel Meyer, and all of a sudden I'm surrounded by orbs. Now, I know orbs are very controversial. Most orbs, I believe, are not paranormal, but while this is happening, I had the K2. I said, now I have this box here. If you're really here, if you'd like me to know you're here, I'm going to count to 3 and touch this box, and this needle will move, and I'll know you're here. When I hit 3, the needle moved up about probably 2/3 of the way. My wife took a picture. I heard her go, "Oh my God." And there was an orb about this big right above the box. And shortly after that, with our EVP session, my wife said, "Are you proud of being German?" "I'm German. I'm proud of my heritage." "Are you proud of being German?" And we got a very clear, "Yeah."
Cool.
Best EVP I've ever collected.
I've got some really good EVPs, and it is amazing when you get them and you just like, oh my God, especially when you hear them, Again, like I said today, I was looking through my old files. We were walking down tunnels and such, and me and the same girl, right? Because we were on this team. It was a Staten Island team, and we were walking down, and we heard a door slam behind us. So we stop and we're listening. She's in front of me and I'm right here, and there's nothing and nobody around the area, just this hallway. And we heard a door slam way down the thing. We're talking about it, going, well, we should go back down there. We're talking about going down to investigate the door, and right between us, I mean, because the recorder is held in my hand like this, right between us, loud, "Hey!" And we both heard it. We both looked, and we're just like, "Did you hear that?" Just like, here, it's like right there, and we went and investigated after, but I mean, we got so much stuff out of that place, it was just ridiculous. But right between us, it's just insane, and I love it when you hear it, but then you got it on recorder.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'll send you these things later, Mama.
Okay. Cool.
You can hear it.
Okay, Don, you've had the opportunity to take part in a number of paranormal investigations. How has that affected you?
It has cemented the beliefs that I've started to form and the understandings I started to form in my own home. And now that I see that what's going on in my home is actually very, very common to a great degree.
Well, I think you got a little bit more going on because of the age of your house. I mean, a lot of times there might be something with a area, so it could be a new house getting an old haunted.
Exactly.
So, but you have the old house. I have the second oldest house on this street. So it's an old house, and it's got its history.
Your brother or brother-in-law, somebody was over doing a scanning with the metal detector, and you found a coin.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was
1924, 26.
I think so, yeah.
In Elks,
Elks Lodge corn thing.
Elks Lodge, what the heck do they call that?
Bicentennial?
Annual something. They have a
Annual
meeting,
fair meeting.
something. It's the annual something. But they have
it just goes to prove that
Yeah.
there's always going to be something to prove
it
that
was like
this has
11,
been around since for
11 o'clock, 11:05, 11. There was a time on the clock, but it meant something, and I looked it up, and then I posted it. So I posted all this stuff's on my page. I posted it. You'll have to kind of scroll back a little bit, but I posted it on there, and it was like what the 11, 11, 11, 11, 10, whatever the hour meant, was some marching something, but had historic reason. So everything that was on this little medallion had historic value to it. So we're like looking it all up, and I kept posting and posting, posting. And I'd find something, I post it, and find something, I post it. Convention.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it was something. But yeah, Bob's brother found that, and toast at 11. There it is. So that's what it was. Thank you, Bob. Love you.
Got to keep you around now.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
So that's the reason why I keep Mom around. That's why the reasons why I keep him around.
Yep. Okay. A couple of things that I've learned in my own way of thinking is that you both have houses that are special to you, and you've been drawn to them. I believe that when that happens, because I said this to another friend, you are not the owners of the houses. You are the guardians of the houses. You are drawn to the house for a reason. You are drawn to the business. I have a great friend. She owns the 101 Cafe. And she doesn't feel like the owner because whoever's there haunting the house, as most people would call it, living in the house with you, knows that you're taking care of it. Now, one thing I've learned from Gina is that when people do renovations in old houses, they ask permission, or they explain to the entities that are there, the spirits that are there, what they're going to do. Have you done that with your house?
I wish I would have known to do that early on, because the work I was doing stirred up lots of activity, and I would have tools come up missing. Just amazing things like that. But yeah, and I do feel that we're caretakers of this house. Actually, had we not purchased this house and did serious work with it when we did, it probably would have been lost to the elements. It was getting that bad. But yeah, and I make a point when things are going on. Like, for instance, behind me, I have a sliding door salvaged from an 1870s house. For some reason, the door to my office was missing. And because of space in the mudroom behind, the sliding door makes much more sense than a swinging door.
Yep.
As I was starting to put up the track for this door, all the batteries in my drill went dead immediately.
Wow.
So I knew, okay,
not from this house, and that's not the door that goes there.
The door here. So I had to resort to the drill now. And I tried to explain why I was doing this door, but it's different. And I don't think whatever entity was involved in this part of it liked it. The first day after the door was there, I opened it, went down to get lunch, the other part of the house. I came back and the door was closed. This is a very heavy 7 foot tall by 4 foot solid oak door. This door could not close by itself. Wow. So I opened it. Okay. And I made notes, said something that, okay, I guess the door's bothering you. And so this happened 3 days in a row. The third day, when I came back, I sat down, and an air can by my computer was violently thrown to the floor. When I got up from my desk, came over here to investigate, a book from the bookcase came out, took some other stuff with it, broke a commemorative mug that I have. It's like, so I did sit down and have a serious talk. Like, look, I'm sorry if the door upset you. You can't be breaking my stuff. Now, I'm living here. The door's fine. The door's okay. And from that point on, that didn't happen again. Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of validity to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of books.
No.
I have more books downstairs. And
I have a library room.
Yeah, I have two. So the man that lived here, that's upstairs on the third floor, all right, that's his his zone. That room, I knew it when I looked at the house, I said, "Oh my God, there's an old man up here. I seen him out of the corner of my eye." I'm just like, "Yeah, it was his area." We used to ask permission to go up to the third floor every time we went up there because we felt we had to. But my neighbor informed me about the things of him, and he had floor to ceiling like a hoarder books in there, and he was upset because they got rid of all his books. But he
Oh,
liked Western Western history, Western, books. I have only one out of all my hundreds of books. I have one Western civilization book. It was downstairs in the sunroom on the shelf. When we were moving in, I put it on the shelf, and it's a thick book, right? An old binding, old book, you know,
Mm.
history
yeah.
book thing, and I had it on the shelf. And I go in there in the morning, it's on the floor. I'm like, what the heck? I picked it up and I put it back on the shelf. And then I found out about the books. And then I found out what books he liked. And then I went over and I looked at that book and saw what it was. And I said, oh, okay. So I was like, oh, here we go. I said, well, I'll bring you this book. So now that book is upstairs and it's on a table up there, and I'll go up and I'll flip different pages, so he can read different things. And he's like calmed down about that. But we were doing a session here before at the bottom of the stairs here, because the stairs are right here to go up to the attic, and we were doing a portal session, and he was upset about his books again. So I was asking the questions about, the books, and he was getting angrier and angrier and angrier, and I'm like, well, I'm sorry, I can't, get the books. Some of them were donated, and some of them that were, they were just not in good shape and they had to be thrown away. They were like rotted up there,
Mm.
were stacked. They weren't in a good environment. So, we could keep them. So I was like trying to explain, and he's like, my books, and the portal goes push, and a person that was on our team was on the opposite side of the stairway. I think she did not even hit the floor. She just ran. She was downstairs. She was gone a second. And I'm stuck here in my office. I'm stuck in here, and I'm just like trying to explain to him. I'm like, well, listen, I will try to find out where your books were donated, and will that make you happy if I can get some back? And there was like a brief little pause and a yes. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
but I couldn't get any back. But I then went on to explain to him, after that, I'm sorry, I asked, but I can't get any of them back, But you can't disrupt the house like that. You
Well,
know?
at least he knows you tried.
Yeah. Well, that's
That's. I think
again,
that's. Yeah.
investigation. Find out what they want.
Mhm.
People are getting bothered by spirits in the house. You got to find out what they want. Is it the person that is doing something to disrupt, like you putting in a doorway that they don't want? You know what I mean? What is the issue? You gotta talk to the person and the spirit and find out what the issue is.
Yeah. I think one of the things working in our favor is we're doing a restoration project, and that
Mm.
seems to curry the favor of
Yeah.
the I guess entities that be here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was getting it too because I replaced the majority of the windows in the house. I got 3 more going in upstairs because I can't fix them. I fixed the round windows downstairs. I fixed those. I fixed the doors. Do what I can. But my ceiling on the dormers, I got beautiful round dormers upstairs, and the
Uh-huh.
ceiling is like coming down. When I first started that, going up there with all my stuff and putting it all around, Lord in heaven, you would think there was a band going on. There was so much noise and crashing and everything. And I'm like, I'm just not paying attention to you. I'm going to do my job. And it was in such bad disrepair. I mean, really down to slats and just like you know, bad, horrible thing. And as it's starting to look better, the sounds are getting less and less and less. Like, oh, okay. Maybe she
They
knows what
have. I'm sorry, but they have to appreciate the work you're doing because you're hanging out windows trying to fix the roof.
Yeah.
I have an issue with that one.
I know.
Sorry.
I had to climb out the little eyebrow window to fix a shingle that was coming loose on the house. It's like, it was way up there. But
Sorry, I had a shiny ball moment.
yeah, shh, not supposed to say those things. But
Dawn,
I'm trying to repair the house, and my neighbors would come up to and say, hey, they've known several people that have been, like a couple families that have been in and out, over the last like 80 years or so in here. And they said, from us being here, just the few years we've been here, 2, 3, I don't even know how long I've been here now. It's just like work.
Bob.
But we've done more than anybody in the last who knows how many years done to
Mhm.
the
Yeah, we get people honking when they drive by, seeing us working and waving. People actually will stop just to tell us how much they appreciate what we're doing to bring this old girl back.
That's why I
absolutely.
said you're the custodians, you're the guardians of the place. You're not the owners. There's a difference.
Yeah.
For me,
Mhm.
there's a
They're
difference. You know.
distinct. There is to me too, very
Yeah.
distinct.
Yeah. The only other house was the Victorian mansion in Gardner that called to me like, oh my God, I almost bought that. I was so close to buying that. That's a famous haunted location, and Joni, that's how I met Joni Mahan. She wrote a book on Bones in the Basement. She wrote the book on that house. And I went up to her at Salem Con. I'll never forget. I'm like, Joni, you got to buy that house with me. She don't know me. And I'm just like, Joni, I know you know the house. And I know you're drawn to it like I am. And I'm really drawn to this house. And I'm like, yeah, but I wanted it so bad. Like it was drawing me in. But I'm glad I
Mhm.
did because the company, the people that bought it, did that house justice. Wow, they poured in a ton of money, but it is beautiful. What a restoration job they did. Mimi and I can't remember his name, but they work impeccable,
Cool.
impeccable. And the spirits are still very active there. Crazy active house.
Dawn, aside from Gettysburg, what's your favorite place to investigate? Or do you have one that you haven't been to and you want to be to?
Oh, plenty.
Um, I have a huge bucket list. Waverly, Penhurst. As far as favorite places, there are a number of good locations right here in good old Bryan, Ohio. We have an old granary. Actually, it was featured on the Travel Channel, Most Terrifying Places. I get to be the historian on that segment. Actually, I wasn't in that building 5 minutes until I was seeing shadow figures and we were getting EVPs. We weren't even there to investigate it. They were just showing me the building, the caretakers of it. Um, Fascinating place. We have a real. I can't repeat half of what he has said on the ghost box, but in one part of the building, there's a
Cuss
very
jar.
foul mouthed spirit who loves to
Ooh, cuss
insult.
jar. I'm bringing a cuss jar. I have a few friends down in Ohio. Something tells me I'm going to be getting down there eventually.
Yeah,
Maybe
Ohio.
2021. Who knows?
I
Yeah.
like Ohio. Virginia and Ohio. Those are great places to investigate. I like Ohio. The um, Bob,
Bob, where are you? We need help.
Ohio State Reformatory.
Oh
It's
yeah,
Yeah.
down in Mansfield.
Yeah, Mansfield. I freaking love that place. That's my favorite out of all the jails I've ever been to. That's my top number one.
I have not investigated there. They're starting to host a paranormal event. I think I'll be taking part in that when they're finally, after post COVID, able to conduct
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, like ghostly excursions, we do that. We take people there, and a bunch of other different places too. We haven't done Moundsville. We've done like an event at Moundsville, but not really like a ghost hunt at Moundsville.
Yeah,
But
it's kind of
but
nice that when you can do things for the public, let them experience it. Because I've helped out with investigations at the Sanders Farm in Gettysburg haunted trails. That's an amazing property. That should be on people's lists to try out too.
awesome, awesome. I love it, and I like that people can share the passion about it too. And to get the history out there, and to do it properly, and to do it respectfully, and
Yeah.
kicking in doors just trying to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
EVPs.
The people who antagonize and provoke, I cannot get into that. It turns me off. I've never tried it, never done it. I will speak out if I feel an entity is being abusive toward me. I will stand up for
Hmm.
myself or someone else in the team or the investigators, but I will not provoke.
Right, right. And a lot of people do that. They learn that from TV, and it's like that. Just don't do that. You're not going to
Yeah.
get what you want out of it. So just
But I
don't.
think I have a friend, and I'm not. Don't ask me which person it was, because it could have been Eugenia, or could have been Jay or Jason, and all those crazy people that I love. When you go into somebody's place, whether it be a hospital, a house, or whatever, you want to. You just imagine you're having somebody come into your own house. You want to treat the people with respect. A lot of people have an issue with that. They can't even treat themselves with respect, never mind where they're going. But if you treat everybody the same with respect, and I'm all about that, whether it's this entity in a home or in a sanatorium or in a prison, it's like Gina's box thingy majiggy. You have to know your audience. I know, technical words. Hoo-ha. You have to know your audience. You have to know who you're going to meet. And it's like when you go to a dinner party, you bring a bottle of wine. When you go to a sanatorium, you bring, I don't know, something. Everything works with knowing who you're going to see.
Yep.
God help them when I go see them.
Well, like you go to different places. Like have you been to Hillview? Like they'll tell you.
No, I have not.
Oh, that's especially the top floor there. Oh my God. Unbelievable activity. But they tell you who's up there, like listen to them, listen to the people that are in the building. They know who's on what floors and trust them that they're there, and what they want. They're up there, and there were two males fighting, and I'm getting all this on EVPs, and they're fighting. And they were fighting about golf balls, because what they would do is they would go out. There was a golf course not too far from there, I guess, and they would go out and they would collect golf balls and sell them back to the golfers so that they could get money to buy their cigarettes. So if you left them cigarettes, they were appreciative, or they'd take your picture. So this is the EVPs that I'm getting. I'm hearing them going click, click, smile, click, click, all these things. They're making the noises, it's crazy, insane thing. I got this thing floating down. I walked by a camera and this thing floating down, following me down the hallway. It's just insanity, and everywhere you go, it's different. And we were three of us girls on that same floor. We were fooling around. We realized that one of the buzzers in the room, the call buttons, actually worked. So we were just laughing because it's the end of the night, end of our investigation, everything. We were like starting to pack things up and roll up the cameras and everything. And so we're joking and we're laughing and we're ringing a buzzer and all this stuff. You hear what sounds like a nurse or someone yelling, and the EVP going, girls, 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 like we're being too loud. You know what I mean? So it's like you never know what you're going to get, when, and why. They interact with you on a regular conversation, a normal conversation. They will correct you if you're wrong. I'll do that a lot. I'll say, oh, well, I heard that this, say the date that you're going after is 1870, right? And you say, oh, I heard that in 1862 that this and that, happened. And then they'll correct you. And then I'll have someone else correct me. I'm like, no, I'm waiting for the spirit to correct me.
Just,
Yeah.
Spirit do it. Yeah.
Yeah, because they will.
Don, you said in the beginning of the beginning of the show that you considered yourself to be a skeptic. Do you still consider yourself a skeptic?
Yes, I do. I mean, my first thought is to debunk. And then if you can't debunk, then it just adds more strength to the evidence that you found. But I do. I approach everything, and many times you can debunk things if you just take the time to try.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because you get, people will call you and say, hey, I'm hearing these banging noises. It's like, well, is there pipes in that wall?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things. There's a lot of reasons why things can be debunked. And you gotta go through all that. Absolutely. Yeah. And
so in a way, it's good to be a little skeptical when you go to an investigation.
Most definitely. Like K2 hits are a good example. If you don't do a base reading before you start, then I think anything you do with the K2 is suspect.
Okay, so what is a K2?
Simple
words, please.
Yeah, K2 is an electromagnetic field meter, in effect, and it can read electrical fields. It can read different energies, and one of the theories is that spiritual energy is electromagnetic energy. So you can get what are apparently spirits interacting with the K2 when in fact you're hitting an electrical field if you haven't done your homework ahead of time and found out where the wires are, where the electromagnetic fields are in a location.
Right. And the other thing about a K2 or a REM pod specifically, walkie-talkies and phones set them off. So be careful of that. A better thing that can
Yes.
record would be like a tri-field meter. And if you use it on the natural setting, it won't pick up man-made things,
Okay.
So it's a good thing. Yeah. I just put that up there. I'm skeptical, but not a skeptic, from David Roberts. That's
That's what I was counting.
priceless, you know?
Mhm.
Now,
Yeah.
Gina, you have a question to ask.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Your
I
turn,
was,
because I can't find it.
oh, oh, because you didn't number
I
them.
was sitting there, didn't number them, dang it.
I was like looking down the questions, and this one just popped right up me, and it says, "Can you share the most impactful dreams you've experienced?" Because I know the dreams are crucial.
I have an entire chapter on dreams in one of my books. And the most impactful dream I have ever had is, to me, amazing. It's shortly after we moved into our house here, I dreamed that I encountered my grandfather outside my uncle's former restaurant. My grandfather and I were very close, but I don't really dream of him hardly at all. But in this dream, he was dressed all in white, not typical of him. He escorts me in the restaurant, and it was back as it was when it was my uncle's restaurant. We sat down at a table. There were two women at the table dressed in like 60s clothing, and it's like I knew them, but I didn't know them. They must be maybe someone from my childhood, perhaps, older relatives. But they're having a conversation. I know they're talking, but I can't hear them. Then my grandfather looks at me and he points down toward his crotch very emphatically. And I'm thinking, my grandfather must be telling me a dirty joke. I guess he had a bit of racy humor, but I was young enough when he died. I didn't see a lot of that. I woke up. It was a very realistic dream. I thought, what in the world? Well, this was right before I got up. So I get into work. Right after I got into work, my mom calls. They had taken my dad, my grandfather's son, into the emergency room. And they arrived about the exact time I had this dream. My dad had a severe bladder infection. And my mom is telling me, oh, it's not serious. You don't have to worry. They're going to transfer him, but don't leave work, anything like that. As soon as she told me what happened, the timing and my grandfather's act in that dream hit me like a ton of bricks. I said, no, Mom, I'm taking you. I'll be there. I'm leaving work. I got people to cover for me. I was editor on deadline, so that wasn't a light, small thing to just leave at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But people understood. As it turns out, my dad had sepsis, could easily have died. The hospital did not handle things well, either from a viewpoint of administration to get the insurance thing squared away, or in his treatment. I ended up, my poor mother in her 80s would have been overwhelmed by this. I ended up yelling in the administrator's office to get their attention, to get it taken care of.
Right.
Probably one of the most useful, most best examples of being a place I needed to be at the time I needed to be there, doing what I needed to do because of that dream. Without that dream, I probably would have believed my mom and thought it's not that serious.
Yeah.
So yeah, dreams. And I've had other dreams. I could go on and on about dreams. I'm a firm believer in many dreams do indeed.
Oh yeah, yeah. I 100% agree. 100% agree. We were staying at the little round top campground thing in one of the cabins, and we were going to go to the battlefield again. This is when I had my broken foot, and again when I had that EVP, out in the thing saying whose side you on. But the night before we went there, I saw this face And then I woke up. Right before I woke up, I saw this face, and it was like longish hair, long, mustache, very distinctive face. And I'm like, wow, it's like I felt like I knew him. It's the statue on the way into Devil's Den that's like right there.
Oh,
It's the face, and I was just like, oh my god, I just got chills again thinking about it. And it's like, oh, so I'm like, that's him, and they're like, what? And we drive, and I'm like, stop. That's him. That's who I dreamt. That's the face. And I had to get out, and I'm like getting out of the car with my broken foot. I'm like, I gotta go do an EVP session.
Did you get anything from that EVP session?
I did, but not anything like I should have gone back and done more because they wanted to
Mhm.
go in and, plus we were kind of like it was traffic and people and, you know,
I think the point of the dream was it's just his way of saying, "Hey, I'm
we're
waiting
going,
for you. You're
yeah,
coming to see. You're gonna come see me. You
oh
gonna see
yeah,
me."
yeah. And then this was that sky that night. This was over the battlefield, that sky. You see that
Yeah,
glow in the sky? That was just
I think
insane.
that's
mhm.
freaking amazing.
It was
Yeah.
it was amazing photos.
Oh, I love that. I was just like, this place is just the energy there is just crazy, crazy, and it's everywhere downtown. And you can get things anywhere there. You do a tour, like doing the tour at Jenny Wade House. You can get evidence. Just walk, record everywhere you go, whether it's on your phone, doing videos. Listen to them. Hey, have a recorder. Record everywhere, all the time.
Record yourself while you're sleeping. Hear you snore.
Oh God. Ugh. You don't want to know what's going on with you. You can actually invite these dreams into you too. You can allow this to happen, or you cannot allow this to happen
Yeah,
when you go to sleep because you are in control. But if you want to know something, it's like, all right, so hey, I'm going to such and such tomorrow. I'm going to Devil's Den. I'm going to Little Round Top. I'm going here. Speaking of, right now, this right here,
you're calling her a troublemaker. No, I'm sorry. Hey,
Taryn
Darren.
is the queen of Gettys. Right? I always say that. People ask me about Gettys, and I'll be like, you know what? I'm gonna ship you off to Taryn because Taryn is the queen. She knows everything about every area of Gettys. All about. She knows all the history. She knows where everything is. That's my go-to girl right there. And now I have you, Dawn.
Here we go.
But yeah,
Should have
so
Taryn on the show.
I know. Taryn, you should call in.
Put up the phone number.
All
We've
right.
only got 10 minutes left, so make it quick.
Yeah, call in, Darren. Call in. Um, yeah.
David Roberts says, "Good idea. I talk in my sleep." I'm afraid to do that one.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Because I'm like, what did I? I'm lost my point. Yeah, but if you at night when you go to sleep and you say, okay, I'm going to Getty's tomorrow. I'm going to go to the battlefield, or I'm going to such and such a house. All right, I'm going to the farm.
Mhm.
I'm going wherever I'm going. All right. Say, all right, I will allow you to communicate with me while I'm sleeping. Who are you? What should I ask for? You can allow these things to happen because when you're sleeping, right before your REM sleep, that's when you're most susceptible to getting these messages, because you're not thinking of all your day to day daily stuff. So you're open to it. But it's to retain
Yes.
stuff is the other thing. It's like you have to wake up and you've got to write this stuff down
Mhm.
before you forget because it's like
Yeah.
instilled in our
This
things.
some great advice. I always keep a notepad beside my on the stand beside my bed. But what I do if something's bothering me, I have a trip coming up or something. As I'm laying there half asleep, I try to think, okay, in the morning I'll have the answer if it's something bothering me or maybe how I should handle a trip or something. And quite often when I wake up that morning, I have my answer. But
Yes,
I don't know exactly how the process works, but it works.
it does. It does. And
It
and
does.
again, you can use it in reverse. If you're getting bothered at night, when people say that I'm getting held down at night and blah blah blah, this is why. Because the spirit is trying to contact you during the day and you're not listening. At that time where you can listen and you are more susceptible at that time right before your REM sleep, they will, they really need to get a message to you. So that's when they will come at you. But if you
Yeah.
don't want to be bothered and you think that, this is a hurtful or a harmful thing to you, when you're going to sleep, say, do not You do
Right.
not have permission to contact me. Do not contact me. And your intent and has got to be strong.
Yeah.
Your demeanor is strong.
Is there a technical gadget out there that you when you it would trigger to record when you're talking in your sleep when you start verbally? I know that there's an app. I just saw some silly app commercial for it that it records you when you snore, but it only triggers when there's a sound. Like a motion
Yes.
sensor light. This is a record sensor.
Yes. Yeah. There's all kinds of sensors. I mean, you could put a DVR camera on you all night long, one with
No, I don't want this.
preferably. But I mean, recorders that they use for meetings, that are sound
Mhm.
generated.
Okay.
Voice sensitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
Getting
that, Karen.
reach me. It's my Calgon, my spirit, and my
Come
heart.
go and take me
Oh,
away.
that peace when I'm there. I know, and it
Mhm.
does. You should see her. She just glows. I think she's reincarnated. Do you believe in reincarnation?
You want to put his books up?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't have an opinion. I don't disbelieve and I don't believe, but I'm open to it.
Yeah. Well, these are his books. I met more ghosts at Gettysburg, and I met a ghost at Gettysburg. Um, he's a journalist. He's a writer. They're well worth the reading. Everything about him. Just
Yeah.
cool. What's his books? I say I showed you that. I do what? What do you do? I don't know what I do. I go
And why you missed this show, Taryn, I would like to know. That's probably because you're not paying attention to us, not paying attention to the Fox Den. He should see my pics. Well,
yes.
puts them up in the Fox Den, and then he can see them.
Yeah.
She has a soldier pic.
Yeah, she's got a good one because she's got a lot of great EVPs too, being down there. Yeah, you and Don definitely should talk. He knows Pam and Steve well. You will be at Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. We will be at Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. And you said you wanted to go to Penhurst. We do the Penhurst Paracon. You should become part of our Penhurst Paracon. And then you can see Penhurst too. But
Dave says he
Yes.
believes in reincarnation. I think when it comes to reincarnation, whether you believe it or not, it's kind of like when you didn't believe in ghosts. It had to be proved to you. So something has to come up that will prove to you about reincarnation, and then you'll still be a little bit skeptical.
well, I think
Yeah,
so
I think that is pretty much my approach.
I know. Because you listen to people talk about ghosts, it's like, yeah, until it happens to you. And they have the skeptical people too that will say, "Oh, I don't believe in ghosts, but this happened." It's always, but this happened.
Yeah. Oh, I've had that more times than I can mention, including a guy who I don't believe in it, but and then he proceeded to tell me about seeing a ghost horse as he's coming into Gettysburg late one night with a Union saddle blanket on, no less, galloping
Annoying.
silently across the asphalt road ahead of him. But he doesn't believe.
I believe, but I have never seen any yet. As I said, yet is a big word. Okay.
Yeah.
Terrence says, I've got a great pic of an apparition of a soldier on the railroad cut.
Awesome.
Love to see it.
Awesome. I know. I wish you had known you had been on the show. I would have had you send me the picture and we would have put it up on the show. But
Actually, we should have a show in the new year with the two of them on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And send me a friend request on Facebook.
Yeah, Darren.
We'll have a Gettysburg Palooza.
Yeah, and we could have Pam, we could have Steve, and we could have Bob will come on, and we can have we could have a ton of people about Gettysburg. David Roberts says, read a heap of research, or read a heap of research and evidence.
Sorry.
Clinched it for me. I read a lot, and things I've read, and especially when children do things or say things from history like wars and things, how would they know these intimate details of someone's life or what these guns are called, or someone from like World War II or someone from the Civil War or someone, how would they know these terms if this is 3 or a 4-year-old child, things like that make me go, you know what I mean? I've never met physically in person someone. Anybody knows someone, tell them to get in touch with me, because I would love to talk, pick their brain. Maybe we have them on the show. I would love to do something like that. So,
Sorry, I had my coughing fit there.
right. Well, all right. Where can people get your books, Don?
You can, of course, you can get about any book on Amazon. Mine are all there, but if you'd like, especially a signed, autographed, personalized copy, go to imetaghost.com or fatedbanner.com websites. You can learn more about me, learn more about the books, order those books and other books that I do at those sites.
And you go to a lot of conventions usually when they're running. So, hopefully
it'll be back.
Next year will be.
It's been a bad year.
Yeah. So support our local people, because we do, we sell a lot of things at these events. Usually they're like a part of our income that we need. So, support anybody that that's in this field, that is an author, for their books and their wares or whatnot. Just think about that. Christmas is coming up,
Yeah. Christmas is coming up.
Christmas is coming up. Yes. So
it's my birthday. Hello.
Yeah. Who loves Gettysburg? Who would love these books? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Planning a Christmas list. Let's
See, the thing is, what's really interesting is I'm Canadian. I don't get much American history in here in Canada, but this is interesting to me. It's something I've never heard about, so it's like, okay.
I know, we all live it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. She's Terrence. Anybody that writes about Gettysburg, I support it.
There you go.
Yeah, she's.
All right. Well, great. Thank you, Karen.
She is the queen. She is the queen. She knows everything. All right, 2 minutes left. What do you? Let's see. What do you want to leave our listeners with?
Yeah.
And I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but be open-minded, be receptive, be curious, and support people who are curious.
Yeah, and don't down.
There's a lot out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the ones that are just coming up, you need to help them, because if they may have something new to teach the old farts like her. Sorry, I had to.
Well, I'm an old fart, but I'm new to the field, and people have been incredibly helpful to me. Incredibly helpful.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that.
That's how you grow.
Yep.
That's the only way that this field will grow and gain, any kind of footing, is to help each other, and not be the great I am.
90 seconds.
Oh.
Well, it's time to go.
Yeah,
so everybody, find his books, find him on Facebook, go to the and just support him, support Gettysburg, because if not, Taryn will kick your butts.
Yeah. All right. And if you're listening on the radio archive, if you're listening on Anchor FM, please go to our Facebook page. Our Facebook is The Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D. Very simple to find, and watch the show, because we show a lot of pictures. We show the covers of the books. We show the video. It has a lot to offer. So please go and watch and like and subscribe and hit the notification button. All right. So we do have to go, and I got to get back to my.
Well, see you all guys next week when she's gonna behave. Sorry. I might.
I never behave. Thank you, Don. Really.
Thanks, Don.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's been great.
All right. Hang here for a minute. Thank you again for joining us for another episode of The Fox Den. We would love it if you would go over to our YouTube channel, which is The Fox Den, hosted by Gina Bankston. Please like and subscribe our channel and join us in the chat room there while we stream live every Thursday evening from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll see you next week. Good night.